When did you realize the good old days have passed? When I realized it's been over 2 years since my entire group of friends all sat down and had a night to hang out together. We've all drifted apart compared to how close we were and, except for 2 friends, don't talk nearly as much. Good old days have been long gone. It happens. Doesn't mean you can't make good days with new people. When you see your parents aging, or realize mom can't solve your problems for you anymore. Sometimes, when crap hits the fan, I feel like a little girl again and I curl up in the fetal position and cry for mom. I'm 30. When there's barely anyone playing your favorite online video games anymore. When you and your best friends don't have much to talk about anymore. When your favorite show aired its last episode years ago. When companies' franchises you used to like don't put out good stuff anymore. Last online 7 years ago. The terminal brain cancer diagnosis pretty well kicked my butt, but I didn't die today, and I probably won't die tomorrow either. Congrats on officially 2 years. You sound like a complete badass. Keep being you. When I had a child, don't get me wrong, I would die for this boy. I have a new, awesome D&D group I play with after a 20-year hiatus from the game. Amazing wife. Great friends. But I have this countdown to the end of life feeling that pervades my thoughts since he came around. In the movie Interstellar, the protagonist says now, we're just here to be memories for our kids. I feel that bone deep. The moist brevity of the past felt so much potential. Now I feel that my job is to be part of my son's potential. It's humbling and scary. The moist brevity of the past line made me think moist brevity was a real word. I googled it before I noticed it was your username. LOL. When I sat down at my family table around the holiday and noticed empty seats where loved ones used to sit, my dad's spot at the head of the table and my brother's spot beside him. My aunts and uncles always dropped in later on holidays, but now their spots are empty too. My best friend normally ate with us since his folks were split up. Now all their seats are empty. I have plenty of good days ahead of me, but it's hard to not be sad that they are all gone. I feel this. This Thanksgiving was my first year with literally no family to celebrate with. It was a very sobering experience and it slowly began with my mom passing 5 years ago. There's a great quote by Andy Bernard from The Office. I wish there was a way to know you're in the good old days before you've actually left them. For a different perspective, I had just enough foresight to be able to be aware I was in the good old days while they were still happening. It's not a great feeling to know that right now is as good as it will be for a good while. It made me anxious about doing as much as I could with the time that I had, too. When I stopped having motivation for the things that I used to love and enjoy, such as gaming or watching movies more often, I don't really do either much anymore and it's saddening. How I simply do not have the motivation for them and I seem incapable of finding such motivation again. This'll most likely be buried down, but at least I can admit and realize that such things just seem to pass me by without even realizing they had. I have been feeling this for years. I've lost motivation and drive to do crap like crazy. The only things that help are forcing myself to try things and do things, and keeping in shape, exercising, and avoiding masturbation. Yoga's great too. LOL. When meeting old school friends I was inseparable from, only to spend most of the time in awkward silence because you have almost nothing in common anymore. I don't think it's necessarily sad, but it does make me long for the past. Nostalgia always colors memories a nice rose. When I had to get a job and could not just sit around waking and baking and hanging with my dog while drinking chocolate milk mixed with a peanut butter spoon every day. Where'd I work part-time and go to uni now, but on my occasional days off I do this for nostalgia purposes. When all my friends had kids and now all we talk about is their kids and all we do is kid-friendly stuff, and even when I ask them to have a gals evening sometimes they ask to bring a +1 aka the older kid for some fun mom-kid time, like can we please not. When my grandma's house was sold, then she got dementia, and passed this June in 2019. I am still living a happy life, but I got to make sure my mind doesn't wander too far. I don't like thinking about it. Her death almost made me tear up. What's worst is that she once said that she wanted to reach 100. She could have become a great grandmother, but she passed 30 years before 100. She also could have reached her next birthday had she lived one more week. I know you're still happy, but sometimes you gotta tear up again, I feel it. When I fell off that couch. Context. When I was younger I used to like tightrope walk along the edge of the couch. You know, the board that holds the front on. Well, around 28 years of age I was doing just this. Just casually walking, and the next thing I knew I was on the floor with my ribs in immense pain. My now wife, trying to hold back laughter, but still very concerned, asked if I was okay. I had blacked out for just long enough to fall, hit the floor, and try to grasp what just happened. Maybe 3 seconds. I survived with a fair amount of pain for the next month, but to this day me and my wife still refer to the day I fell off the couch as the day I became an old man. I went over the handlebars of my bike when I was 32. Now I have arthritis in my elbow as a constant reminder. At the risk of sounding lame, I had 3 internet buddies that I more or less spent my entire teenage years hanging with. We all met in a text-based roleplay board that is now non-existent. There was a pretty big network of us from that site, but the 4 of us were always tight. MSN, and later Skype, chats that would last 6+ hours a day. We would involve each other in various RPs. We played D&D over chat. My favorite tradition was movie night. We would all pirate the same film and then sync our viewings of it, hanging out to chat while we watched together. We shared our ridiculous teenage dramas, talked about our plans for the future, played video games occasionally. I think for a while, we were each other's only support. We fought occasionally, always ended up friends again. This went on for years and it was wonderful. But then one day I realized it had been months since any of us really talked. No one had time. Nobody was really interested anymore. One by one, our little circle of friends fell apart and it breaks my goddamn heart. I don't know where they are right now. If any of you see this, yup, still have the same username, Dirk. I hope you got out of that crappy little town and are living your best life. Charlie, thanks for teaching me a scrape of emotional maturity. I'm in awe of what a well-rounded and put-together adult you are. Sorry I was crappy, guys. They really were the best days. Or, that's so sad. I hope you find them. Whenever I feel like I'm having one of those rare but timeless nights with my friends, I like to tell myself, you know what? This is the good old days. It's the best thing I've ever done for myself. For me, the good old days are at different times. I think I'm living in a form of the good old day right now. I won't realize it until this period of my life or my circumstances change. A favorite quote of mine. That's the thing about the present. We only appreciate it when it's the past. Live stoically, people. Love stoically. TLDR. The good old day can be now, but I won't realize it till later. I was 11. My mom told the man she's been with for 11 years that she's been having an affair. I was playing in their closet during this time and came out after she left to see the man I called Dad weep. Later she told me he wasn't my biological father. As someone that has a better relationship with my stepfather than my bio dad, don't overvalue a biological connection. I won't say it is meaningless, but kind of close to it. If this other guy raised you, treated you well, and sacrificed for you, that's all that matters. I struggled in many ways in college, but I found a group of friends who I love more than anyone in the world. We would go out to the bars constantly together. We had one last bar night before they moved across the country, and I knew that was the end of an era. I'm currently in the good old days. I'm trying to cherish and hold on to each day as it passes because I know I will look back on this time in my life with great fondness. Take more pictures. Yup, after you get out of H's college, everyone close to you moves away or is too busy with their own lives. It's just part of growing up. Then you settle into a life of working and paying bills to survive and you realize this is your new life. When my older siblings moved out of home, about 6 or 7 years ago, just hasn't been the same since. I know they had to move on with their lives, but I miss having them around. It gets so lonely when it's just me and mom. Dad is either at work or can't be bothered to engage with family most of the time. I just miss growing up in a big-ish country town in the 90s. My days as a child consisted of playing PlayStation and Sega, watching MA and R-rated VHS movies that mum hired out for us, This is always the biggest reason why I am a huge horror buff, and just being a kid with scraped knees, who played video games but who also went with a group of neighborhood kids to explore the bush and climb stuff we weren't meant to. Taking my Barbies outside with my sister and making fairy wings and costumes for them out of leaves, and both coming with weird stories straight out of our imaginations. Friday night rollerblading at the recreation center. Neighbors having Saturday night parties where everyone in the street were invited. Crap, I'd say early 2000 to 2010 were pretty freaking great too. Then it didn't so much go downhill, but it certainly went nowhere. The good old days. Having a sleepover at a friend's house outdoors. We lugged out a good old CRT TV into the tent on a milk crate and an Xbox and played Halo multiplayer all night. Frick, man. Today was one of those days. I went to the baptism of the son of one of my closest friends since high school. It was the moment when I saw him with a baby on his hands that made me look around. I could also see the 4-year-old kid daughter of another HS friend. It was at this moment that it hit me. The people I've been seeing since HS doing stupid stuff before. Talking crap non-stop on my room every day. Mom would even let them inside if I was not home. We stayed up until sunrise just playing games, drinking, or whatever. And to see those guys with a steady job, family, I don't know. Life does hit you like a ton of bricks sometimes. 1 week ago, when my dad passed away in his sleep, I had to leave my studies and my old life behind to come back home and take care of my mother, my sister, and her kids. I don't know how I'm going to do this. I'm so sorry for your loss. Talk to people, and don't be afraid to repeat yourself. If people get bored of listening to you, writing about things can help, or find a support group. It's great that you help your family, but you need to take care of yourself first. Don't be afraid to tell your family if it is too much for you. It's going to take time, but things will get better. When I started college and realized that I will never be as close with or have as much fun with the friends I make here as opposed to my friends in middle high school, I had the opposite experience. My college friends and I are 10 times closer than my high school friends ever were. There's so many more people to experience in college that you end up finding more solid friends. In high school, it was just the people you saw 5 days a week and got along with better than the other 100 people to choose from. Maybe that's just a small town thing. When there weren't any fantastic and original Lego sets in the Lego stores anymore, Power Miners were by far the best Lego set ever, and nobody can change my mind. I woke up Thursday morning and for the first time in 7 years it wasn't next to my best friend and love of my life. I miss her so much and it's all my fault. The last 3 days have been full of self-loathing, drinking and generally reevaluating my life. I'm really sorry, bud. Your grief is palpable. Just wanted to let you know someone has read this. Wishing you strength. I'm an M. Sometime early on in life I really attached myself to the mantra, the journey is the reward. I'm not always great at adhering to that message, but generally speaking it's helped me realize over the years that what I'm currently living is largely what it's all about. What constitutes good old days changes as time moves forth. And sometimes things can be so undeniably rough that there's no getting around the fact that they're not good old days, but generally, I try to keep in mind that what I have before me is what it's all about. Even on the days where I'm just working then coming home, lifting, and playing some Red Dead are the types of days I know one day I'll look back and admire for their simplicity and contentment. The second my parents divorced, it's been downhill. All I knew were carefree times, and then I had to pull both my mum and dad's emotional crap together. When I realized how rare it was to see a flip phone, even then I thought it was kind of funny. Why have something so out of date? Since then every get together is eventually illuminated by screens scrolling through various sites. I rarely feel comfortable asking to refrain outside of close friends, and even then it doesn't always stick. Everyone is obsessed with being connected 24/7, but it's truly refreshing to disconnect every now and then. Please, try it. OMG, my dad just bought a flip phone last week, a new one. When I asked why on earth he didn't get a smartphone, he said he likes the buttons. That was until he realized he has to press 7 4 times to type S. It was a very instructive half hour for him and a nostalgic one for me. I'm well into my 40s, A couple of kids, house, job etc. My group was a good group. We would hang out all the time, road trips, late nights in the city, drink, smoke a bowl and just talk into the wee hours of the morning. We had the best summers together. I went away to college, grew up, and here I am. About 2 years ago I ran into one of them and found out they all still hang out. My so and I was invited to a barbecue one of them was having. After meeting everyone, so I'm sitting in the backyard watching a group of grown men and women in the typical share the bowl circle over in the corner of the backyard. Totally fine, whatever. What wasn't fine was the 12 plus kids ages 1-5 running around the pool with not one adult watching them. Expect me, I mean jumping off the diving board, falling in. A total parent nightmare. I had to leave. I said my goodbyes and went on my way. Part of me is happy that I went because I was jealous that all still hung out. The other part of me wishes I never went. That one barbecue kind of just turned my awesome memories into crap. There's no such thing as the good old days. Don't eat the remember berries. There's progress and then there's stagnation. Memory is kind to history. Think of a movie or song that you loved when you were a lot younger. Go back and listen to it again. You won't think it's as good as you once did. Wrong, the Pokemon theme song is still hot fire. When I was 11 I thought the good old days were before we moved to the new house, when I was really little. When I was a freshman in high school I thought the good old days were when I was 11 or 12 and was still in elementary school. When I was struggling in college I thought the good old days were when I was in high school and had all of my friends and family nearby. When I entered the workforce I thought the good old days were when I was in college having sex and partying my butt off. But now I'm in my 30s and I finally realize that these are the good old days. And when I'm 60 my 40s will have been the good old days. All we have is here and now, and these moments are the ones we'll long for in the future. So live in them. Never. Jeebus. I'm 55 and now is better than 10, 20, 30 years ago. Our politics is crap but 1974 was pretty frickin' bad too. This too shall pass, but VR headsets are awesome. When I stopped looking forward to growing up, and instead started thinking about all of the things I wish I could go back and do differently. Age 10. I stopped getting excited for holidays, trips, and other occasions. My enthusiasm and optimism has slowly been chipped away by life, and my first crisis was at age 12. But otherwise I've been fan-f-king-tastic. When I remember the time when I come back from school and my mates would just play Smash Bros for 4 hours straight, would love to be able to do that again. I'm 58, 59 soon. I've come to realize my happiness is in the past. Long divorced, 2 great grown boys I couldn't be prouder of, helped a lot of people in my life and have lost them all as friends over one thing or another. All I have besides my boys is my work. My good days are done, I fear. When I watched the Adventure Time finale Come Along With Me, that show was my childhood and it hurt me to realize how times are changing and what you loved as a child may pass before your very eyes and drift into the back of your mind to be forgotten. Today, went out downtown with my husband, some family and friends all around our age, late 30s mostly. I don't drink anymore but we went to a bar that had a $5 cover and lots of youngsters dancing, drinking, making out, etc. Those good old days of doing what you want, under the influence, and getting hype, they're gone. It felt lame for us to be there. At 25, when all my close friends from high school stopped checking in with each other, we all have our own lives now and even though we used to be with each other 24/7 those days have passed and it's sad at first but then you realize that it is inevitable. Gas prices jumped. Rentals became nearly impossible to either find or afford, and everyone just seems to be a lot more tired these days. I had a pretty crap childhood. I was isolated, homeschooled. We moved too much for me to find any friends. I'm 21 now, winning against a family history of mental illness and substance abuse. As far as I'm concerned, my good old days are just starting. The days when I'm old will be my best days. When I remembered how a week ago I was happy to go to bed because I knew the next morning when it hit me, I'd be as happy as could be. And then one day I wasn't happy to go to bed, and the next morning it didn't hit me like it did when I was happy because I woke up from a dream about it. And I haven't been happy since. That was over 2 years ago now. When I finally lost hope. Once you realize you'll never achieve your dreams, you know tomorrow doesn't matter. And if you're not excited for tomorrow, you're not in the good old days anymore. Good old days? When I look back at my time in college UK, so, high school I guess for US folk, every day I hung with a big group of friends, and every day, every hour, we were laughing our asses off. Joy was constant. Fun was everywhere. Frisbee or just shooting the crap. I'm 30 now, and only see 2 of those guys on the semi-regular, and that is even becoming rarer. I've had good days recently though, and hope to have good days in the near future as well. Good times can pass, doesn't mean they won't come again. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.